Well, thankfully, we were actually in the middle of a snowstorm sandwich here in Rochester. Buffalo, I'm not sure if you saw the pictures from the Buffalo Bills, but the stadium took about 3 feet of snow
And
on
it's still
Thursday night.
continuing.
And I believe it's still continuing as we're talking. Like, not as you're watching, but as we're talking. And, you know, it's also the main reason the game got moved. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Of
Mhm.
course, um, welcome everyone, and hopefully you all stayed safe during that giant snowstorm. I know it affected a lot of the East Coast, but thankfully didn't hit Rochester, so that's a good sign for us. So sucks to be the rest of you. No, I'm kidding. Um, anyway, coming up, we're going to talk the World Cup. We don't talk much soccer here, but we're also going to talk the award winners in baseball. The Bills, the Chargers, the Eagles. Um, you know, a big wide receiver going on IR. Some rumors from NFL insiders. We're also going to make our Week 11 picks and our Thanksgiving Day picks. And then, of course, we'll
Mhm.
talk the Olympics. We got a funny story from the Olympics that'll be Tinkle on this. If you haven't seen it already, you might want to stay tuned because we're going to talk about it here on the show this evening or this morning. But we begin with our takeaways, and Jason, it's all you.
All right. Well, it was another devastating loss in the hands of Buffalo. You know, I guess the hindsight is at least with them in those three losses, they weren't blowout losses. They've been very in these games, but it's very frustrating as a Bills fan when these are three games that they could have won.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, the last 2 weeks have been very terrible weeks for the Bills. Josh Allen making poor decisions. Um, Especially in this game alone. I mean, you weren't going to stop Justin Jefferson. He's the one of the best receivers in the NFL for a reason. So, I knew him and probably Delvin Cook were gonna have great games. You know how you beat a team like that. You just go counter punch to counter punch, and this game had that kind of feel. Buffalo is still a very dangerous team. Yeah, they've been very sloppy in the second half. Don't get me wrong, but if you're the Bills, you had that kind of sizable lead. Don't ease off the gas pedal. You got to keep on being aggressive.
Yep.
Look at, yeah, you can make adjustments, but just keep on doing what got you to, get the kind of points you did in the first half in the first place. If
Right.
you're Ken Dorsey, keep on going with that play call. Why don't change it up? You know, yeah, defense is probably gonna adjust and change, but you gotta keep on going with that game plan. I don't know if it's him. I don't know if it's Josh. I don't know who you blame for the second half troubles. I would think probably Josh. Josh needs to understand that if you have the lead, don't fucking make unnecessary passes. Be as conservative as you can. You don't have to throw a 60-yard bomb or force passes. If you don't got it there, throw
Mm-hmm.
it out of bounds.
Well,
Simple as that.
this is the third year that Josh Allen has been on, not necessarily on the ballot for MVP, but this is definitely the third season that, midway through we've been discussing, he's going to be in the discussion, but
Mm.
I think this week and last week, and I'm sorry to say it, but he took himself out of that race easily.
And this is where I agree. I kind of agree to disagree. I agree in the sense that yes, the last 2 weeks have put him out,
All right.
but I think that redemption
Mm-hmm.
is going to be coming for Josh Allen.
It
in a
is.
big way. Because you look at the next two games, yes, we'll talk about the game getting moved for, later on Sunday. But if you look at those two games, weather's not going to play a factor. So he doesn't have to worry about wind or anything like that.
Yeah.
Two, it's against teams that don't exactly have the greatest of defenses either.
Yeah.
If I'm Josh Allen, you take advantage of that. You take advantage of that opportunity.
Yep.
You have 4 touchdown games against these teams. You gotta show out and shut up the media, because now the media is like, well, the Buffalo Bills might be done. They might be out for the count. Miami Dolphins this, Miami Dolphins that. If you're the Buffalo Bills and you're Josh Allen, you go out there and shut the doubters wrong.
Yeah.
Prove the doubters wrong. Say, we're still the Buffalo Bills and we're still a threat. So,
see, I think
I agree that the Cleveland Browns are probably not going to be the easiest challenge, because you still have Nick Chubb, and that's about maybe it for the Cleveland Browns. Let's be honest here.
Well, Kareem Hunt's still very much a factor in that offense in some way.
Yeah, but it's more so Nick Chubb than it is anybody else.
All I gotta say is, two takeaways from this week. Obviously, I had said last week when we were discussing the Bills is that the Bills lose home field advantage. They fall to a wild card. They're out of the Super Bowl discussion in my eyes. They need to play Kansas City at home. I'm not saying they won't go to play Kansas City. What I'm saying is I don't see them winning a game in Arrowhead in January. Okay? That's just where I stand on that. And number two, I mentioned the MVP race. Now, I had put out a tweet on Sunday to upset kind of a lot of Chiefs fans who were saying, oh, well, what about Patrick Mahomes? Well, here's my take. I think Jalen Hurts currently leads that MVP race right now as things stand. Okay? We know what Patrick Mahomes can do. And also keep in mind, 90% of it is Travis Kelce this year as well. So if you're going to put anybody in the race, it should be Travis Kelce. But again, it's a quarterback award. So to those butthurt Chiefs fans, I said what I said. So you don't like it, then don't look at my social media, I guess. Not much else I could say to you. But Josh Allen took himself out of that race for sure. And you know what? Good and bad, I guess.
Right. I will say this now. Speaking of Justin Jefferson, holy freaking hell. What a hell of a catch. But if you're Cam Lewis, don't try to go for the interception. Just bat the ball down. You don't have to. You're not going to outbeat Justin Jefferson. One, he's taller than you. Two, he's a lot. He's one of the top tier receivers in the NFL.
If no one considered him that before this game, he's definitely in that discussion now as far as top 5, if not top 3 in the NFL.
I mean, the thing is, how much of Justin Jefferson's catch kind of overshadows? I don't know if you saw Stephon Diggs' one-handed grab earlier.
Yeah.
Before that moment, because Stephon Diggs just jumped up and snagged that ball. I think that the Justin Jefferson catch is overshadowing that just a little bit, because Stephon Diggs is not a very flashy, gonna grab, go up and grab a one-handed grab all the time kind of receiver. He kind of beats you with his route running and his footwork.
But see, Justin Jefferson's got all that. And, not for nothing, Justin Jefferson made a catch that, frankly, he had no business catching. And I think that's why it overshadows it. He made a catch
that probably does. Because if you look at it, Justin Jefferson was heavily contested and caught that. Stephon Diggs was wide open and jumped up and caught that one-handed.
He made a catch that was going to be a pick. There was no debating that. It was going to be a pick. Okay.
If it was probably Tre'Davious White or somebody else like that, that probably would have been a pick. Let's be honest.
I think it would have been incomplete. I don't want to go as far to say pick.
Because you know what? That's where you get veteran from a young player, because a young player is not going to try to bat that ball down. He's going to try to catch it and go for an interception. At least where like a Tre'Davious White like player is going to be like knowing, nope, bat that down.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it can be safe to say, well, I think a lot of Buffalo's problems this year on with them losing games is they got so many injuries on the defense. You can't even blame that on that. I get it. You don't have Jordan Poyer, you don't have Micah Hyde. That probably plays a big factor. You don't have Tre'Davious White. You know what?
Mm-hmm.
If anything, I say if this year is a bust of a year and they don't get to the Super Bowl, I say next year, if you get those guys healthy, you better watch out for the fucking Buffalo Bills. Because you're going to have a healthy Tre'Davious White, healthy Micah Hyde, healthy Jordan Poyer,
Mm-hmm.
and Von Miller. I mean, you add all those pieces on that defense, game freaking over, I tell you. But I'll get to my next takeaway and stop talking about the Buffalo Bills for a sec. This one, I guess, I'm shocked that he was a free agent for as long as he was, because he's still not really as bad of a player. Eagles signed Ndamukong Suh for free agency. The beef up that defense a little bit more. Safe to say the Eagles are trying to do as much as they can to make that team as built all around to try to be a Super Bowl contender this year. And it's not a bad thing. I mean, Ndamukong Suh was there with the Bucks when he won the championship in 20.
And Ndamukong Suh, he brings that veteran leadership to the team, which I think, they're not short on right now, but it certainly helps them in terms of the depth. Robert Quinn just went over there. I believe they've got still Slay. They still got Darius Slay over there. So
yeah, they do.
They're still easily one of the best defenses in the league, and I think that just adds to the puzzle there. And it's nice that they're looking big picture, because again, if you haven't seen, their schedule's ranked 30th most difficult in the league this year. Okay, so the 8-1 start, you kind of can take it like a grain of salt.
Well, the thing is about that is now the Eagles realize they can't take any opponent lately.
Yeah.
But I do like that, they're looking at the big picture. They're in win now mode, which I like. Because I think they do have the pieces in place to make a Super Bowl run.
And I got to go back to the 8-1, because again, it's just, it's easy to put them in the Super Bowl mix right now. I think looking at the rest of the NFC, and the problem is the NFC in general is just weak. I mean, they need to bulk up where they can. I mean, I think they can beat the Vikings. I'm not going to lie. I think they could beat the Vikings. Where it's going to get interesting, and I'm sorry, I get Tampa Bay's 5-5. They're still going to be a threat to get there. Seattle, I get it. They're going to be the number 3 seed if the playoff starts today. They're, despite being a high seed and underdog team, I don't think anybody is looking at them as a serious threat.
No, I think that they'll be a playoff team, but for the Seattle Seahawks, I don't see them really doing much in the playoffs at all.
Yeah.
If anything, I can see it being Philadelphia and Minnesota. And then I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, during that Super Bowl run, I'm pretty sure if that was to be happening, it would be a rematch of that year's NFC Championship game, which was Vikings and Eagles.
Yeah.
So,
I'm pretty sure so.
Be interesting to see.
I mean, obviously we're thinking well ahead, but again, I say the Eagles have the 30th most difficult schedule, but again, you look at the rest of the NFC, I mean, and frankly, the other thing that adds into it, I mean, I would say the Commanders, they're starting to get it together. but there's only 8 teams out of the 16 in the conference. Or I'm sorry, there are 6 teams out of the
7.
18 that are above 500. 6 teams.
Oh, right.
Okay. Now there's 8 teams at 500 or above if you count the Bucks and the Commanders. Compared to the AFC where there's, I believe, 9 teams that are 500 or above.
Mm-hmm. Well, the AFC has usually always been better than the NFC anyway, so I guess it makes sense.
Not in recent years.
No.
I think you could argue the NFC's been really good the last few. I mean, the NFC West alone was by far the best division in football for the last 4 or 5 years.
Right.
Now there's really, to me now the AFC East might just be the best division in football. And the NFC East might be a very close second.
True.
And who would have thought that?
No, I know. Honestly, it's going to be interesting to see what actually truly happens when we get into the playoff picture. It's going to be here sooner than later, so...
Yep, but there's going to be one guy that's going to I think just had a negative impact on that.
I agree. Honestly, it would be probably safe to say that he might be out for the rest of the year.
Mm-hmm.
But who knows? Cooper Kupp got placed on IR, I think with an ankle injury or something like that. The real good question is, how is this going to impact the struggling Rams and their chances of getting back to the playoffs? Majorly. Because he's literally like a majority of the team's offense. He really is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Matthew Stafford is going to find out the hard way that you're going to have to start utilizing more of your other receivers than just Cooper Kupp. And I hate to say it, Allen Robinson isn't a bad receiver. He just is underutilized on a team that I think he should be more of like a number 2 receiver.
Well, now it's...
But, when you got Cooper Kupp that's just playing the way he is, it's kind of tough to get many touches and targets and catches.
And now it gets interesting, right? Because, Allen Robinson, and I'd even throw Van Jefferson into that mix.
Right.
Because now these two are by far in a prove-it situation where they are easily the top 2. Now, again, Odell is still looming out there. We don't know what's going on with him, but maybe he latches on to the Rams again. Again, take it for what it is.
It's tough to what's going on with OBJ's situation. I really do think that he wants to join a team that is the closest to winning a championship.
Yeah. But
the thing is,
recapture that magic just by going back there.
He might. I mean, I just don't know if he's got the same energy and the passion to be like a number 1 receiver on the team again. I just don't think he's as good as he used to be when he was with the Giants, to be honest with you. I mean, because you can barely even say that he did all that great with the Browns. You can, say that he did all right with the Rams when he was there. I mean, he had all those touchdowns in those few games when he was there. After he got waived by the Cleveland Browns. So,
yeah. Well,
who knows?
See, again, it's going to be interesting. See what happens. Matt Stafford, by the way, did get cleared, so he will be back this week.
Yeah, apparently his wife doesn't want him to be playing anymore, which is interesting.
I think she's been talking to Giselle a little too much.
No, it wasn't. I don't know. It wasn't even really that. He just it was more so just like the whole thing with like how like players are concussions and whatnot, and saying that he should retire. I just don't know what's truly going on with that. I mean, I get it, but he's not like one that's prone to get him all the time. So
yeah, this is his first one, I think, in probably years. I know his first few years in Detroit were very injury prone.
Yeah, so this is like his real big first injury in a long time, honestly. So, but as far as Cooper Kupp, yeah, the Rams are gonna struggle even more without him than they were with him.
But I don't feel like, it's tough to say because they're 3-6. Obviously, there's not much room for error right now for them, and this now puts them in quite a big, in a bad spot. And actually, looking at the schedule, it might just take him out of the race entirely because he's going to be on IR for at least 5 weeks. So you're playing the Saints, a team that, frankly, just like the Lions, they're not exactly a team that's bad by any stretch, but they're a team that's just not that good.
Right.
Okay. So this is a Saints game that is now winnable for the Saints. Then you go to Arrowhead. And frankly, that's a loss right there.
Oh, I agree.
Okay. Again, I'm not making my picks yet. But then you go to Seattle. Or, I'm sorry, you play Seattle at home. That one's a toss-up.
And you don't even know if that's a guarantee.
Yeah.
The
only one in the next 5 games that could be a guarantee, or that's for sure a guarantee, is the Raiders. Okay? That's the only guarantee right now that the Rams win on Thursday night. Okay? That is the only guarantee. Then you got the Packers the week after, right before Christmas, on Monday Night Football. In Lambeau, by the way. So I got to give the advantage to the Packers based on the weather that is Lambeau Field this time of the year. But again, Matt Stafford's gone into Lambeau before. So he knows how to play in that weather. It's about the rest of the guys. But this is just one of those seasons I think Sean McVay wishes he had retired, like the rumors had suggested he was going to do.
He should have retired on top when he had the chance.
Yeah. Yeah, but needless to say, I just don't see any way that they come out of this with any more than 3 wins. Okay, I think there's one guaranteed win on the table, and that's the Raiders.
Could be possible.
But, alright.
But it's definitely your turn.
Alright. Well, the Chargers get a much-needed break after that difficult loss to the 49ers. We might be seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. Might. I don't want to hold my breath just yet on it. But Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, it looks like they're both going to be on track to play Sunday night at home against the Chiefs in a game that I feel right here will decide the division. Okay, I'm willing, again, I know the Chiefs are going to win it. I concede that. But if they have any glimmer of hope of winning the division, this is the game that they got to win.
I know.
So,
and they came close the first time.
Yeah. And frankly, my thoughts on that Week 2 matchup. I still think that we won that matchup, whether or not the score shows it. Because, frankly, we outpaced Mahomes that whole game. And the result didn't show for it. So, another game, Frank, like I said, I'm sorry, I'm going to go down swinging the rest of the year saying that's a game that we won. And again, call me, what you will. But this is a big game for Justin Herbert because now, of course, we've seen what he's done all year. He's been very quiet. He hasn't been cold per se. Like, he hasn't been awful, but he's been quiet. Now he's got his two top receivers back. And again, Keenan Allen, take it like a grain of salt because that hamstring injury. But Mike Williams being back, I think you can take it a little bit bigger here. Is it a much bigger help? Okay. I want to say that I think we see first 2 years Justin Herbert right here. I think we see a glimpse of it once again. And I feel like it's going to give the Chargers that sense of hope that this isn't a lost season. Again, you look
I mean, with both of those top receivers coming back, it would be nice for him to actually get back on pace. I mean, he didn't play. I mean, I guess I wouldn't say that Herbert played exactly that bad against the 49ers the last game. It just
yeah.
They just didn't come up when it mattered in the last quarter.
Yeah. And the only thing is that this team, and again, this is a win the Chargers need to have. I am going to say that. This is a game the Chargers, to me, have to win. Okay, we look at the upcoming weeks here. After the Chiefs, we got the Cardinals. That's a game we can win. The Raiders, you might as well just chalk that up. The Raiders are done. So, but again, you go in, you win 3 in a row, and you go to 8-4 going into Miami, which is a game that I think you're going to lose just based on how Miami's rolling. Miami is like probably the hottest team in football right now.
I agree.
So I just don't feel confident that, and again, it all depends on how they come out of the bye week because we've seen the Bills out of the bye week. They have struggled, but I still think you can't necessarily rule them out.
Right.
But again, you go 8-4 going home against Miami. And I feel you got a shot. And then I just don't feel that if you go 5-5 going into Arizona, you leave 6-5, and then you go 7-5 going into Miami, taking a loss, going to 7-6, and then going into the rest of the schedule where you're playing the Titans and the Colts, and then the Rams and the Broncos. I don't know. I just don't feel like... I don't think I'd feel confident going into that. I think the Chiefs win would bring a lot of momentum. I feel like it would help Justin Herbert get closer. I feel like it will definitely get him a step closer to his first playoff appearance as an NFL quarterback. But this is the win, I think. This is the game right here that I think determines how the rest of the season goes. So, I guess I'll leave it at that. That's my point.
We shall see.
We shall see. That's the end point. I know I've been beating around the bush, but this is the game that will determine how the rest of the year goes. So, with that, we got to talk about this. This, I think, is one of those things that if we've never seen it, it's possible that we've never seen it. But I think it's something that's just so rare that it needs to be discussed. So, of course, the MLB has announced their Cy Young Award winners and their MVP award winners. So, of course, on the AL side is Justin Verlander. Justin Verlander just won his second World Series, and he is the AL Cy Young winner. And then, of course, Alcantara from the Miami Marlins, Sandy Alcantara, both of them won the Cy Young by unanimous vote. Okay, unanimous first place vote. So, again, we know what Justin Verlander is done. You know, he's going to be a Hall of Famer one day. So I think this just adds to that incredible Hall of Fame resume. And then Alcantara, that's big for him and big for the Marlins, who are a team, I believe, that only have 10 fans. So it'll be fun to, see what he does next year. I didn't really watch much of Alcantara, but,
Right.
Going to the MVP race, Goldschmidt won NL MVP, but of course I think the most prominent one that everyone knew was going to happen is that Aaron Judge has won the AL MVP as he enters free agency. Okay, so I feel now the question will be, will the Yankees pay him? And I think that's a dumb question to even ask to begin with. Of course they're going to have to pay him now. So
Yeah, but how much are they going to have to be willing to pay him to be able to keep him? That's the thing.
no salary cap. I think they'll be willing to pay the luxury tax to keep him. So don't be shocked if tomorrow you see a $500 million deal for like 14 years go to Aaron Judge.
I think that's crazy that there's no salary cap for baseball, but they also signed bigger contracts, so I guess it makes up for it.
I think that, again, the Yankees are more proof that the MLB needs a hard salary cap. Because if it wasn't for salary caps, the Yankees would be, well, they are the Dallas Cowboys of baseball. So that's all I got to say on that. But congratulations to this year's award winners. Thankful again that Luis Arias broke up the Triple Crown for Aaron Judge, because we knew if he won that, there'd be even more value to him. But I got to talk about this, and this gets 2 thumbs down before I even tell you what this story is. Okay. The World Cup, of course, begins today in Qatar. I believe it's one of those Middle Eastern countries, something like that. But initially they were going to sell beer at the venues. Budweiser poured a lot of money, no pun intended, they poured a lot of money into the World Cup this year, millions of dollars, to sponsor the World Cup, to be like the official beer provider. And Qatar has now pulled the plug on alcohol sales at the World Cup. That's why I say this gets 2 thumbs down. Okay, I get religious reasons. I get this country has a lot of, issues. We're not getting into that so much.
Mm.
But when if I'm Budweiser, I wouldn't even fork over the $27 million at this point. If you haven't signed that check yet, I'd take it back, because this is just bullshit. I mean, come on. A World Cup without beer? Could you imagine a Buffalo Bills game? A Buffalo Bills tailgate without beer?
It would be crazy, because then, you then the fans can't be typical Buffalo Bills fans. They can't, jump through tables and get super,
Yeah. Come on.
blasted, I guess.
For the price of tickets for the World Cup, and I imagine they're expensive, I just can't get behind this. I'm sorry, and I get the Bills are not a comparable thing because,
Hmm.
obviously this is a regular season game, and then this is kind of the world, like, international stage right here. But you just can't do that. I'm sorry, especially after Budweiser paid so much money to be involved in this, And again, I get rules, I get all that, but come on. This is the World Cup. This shouldn't be up to the country to shut it down. This should be up to the people running the World Cup. And if they knew in advance what they were going to do, then maybe the World Cup shouldn't have been in Qatar.
Yeah,
So,
it probably should have been somewhere that was actually going to be willing to have alcohol and beer sales.
I guess they'll rethink that in the future if Qatar ever decides to put another bet in or another bid to host the World Cup in the future. But
You would hope. It all depends on the almighty dollar and who's going to, be willing to pay um, FIBA all that money,
yeah,
too.
FIFA. Oh man. Oh well, I'm just speechless about that. I don't get how you can pull beer. Personally, I'd sell my ticket at that point if I was going to Qatar to watch this. But with that, that's all I got. Let's go on to the anchor break. When we come back, we're going to talk some NFL news. We're also going to talk the Olympics. So stay tuned. We'll be back in just a moment. All right, welcome back. Sorry, I accidentally clicked the button too soon. But anyway, we're back. So let's talk the Buffalo Bills. Of course, we mentioned that we were sandwiched between two snowstorms and didn't get much of anything out of it. Can't say the same for Orchard Park. I think Orchard Park had the highest numbers out of the Buffalo region.
It had like 36 inches of snow.
So with that, go check out the Bills' Twitter, by the way. That'll show you the full picture of how the stadium looked on Friday morning. But the Bills will not be playing in Buffalo this Sunday. They will be playing in Detroit. It is the first time a Buffalo Bills home game has been moved due to inclement weather since 2014. Again, that game was moved to Detroit, so it's clear that Buffalo and Detroit have that little friendship there.
Yeah, and during that game, there was actually a lot more snow than there was this year. That was actually 5, 6 foot of snow.
Well, I think.
Which
Oh, sorry. Well, I think the thing to remember, and of course, you question maybe why do the Bills move the game if they want this to be the home field advantage, playing in the snow, and why would they move the game and also want to build another outdoor stadium? I think those are two big questions that deserve to be answered. Keep in mind how low the Bills Stadium is to sea level. Bills Stadium right now, Highmark Stadium is very low, or very below sea level. I believe 30,000 feet. So,
yeah, and apparently the new stadium was going to be sitting a lot higher off.
Which supposedly is supposed to funnel the wind over the stadium and not into the stadium like the current one is. That is why the inclement weather seems to get into the stadium a lot better, or seems to have a greater impact, I guess is the better way to put it, with Highmark than it will with the new one.
Right. Which I think it's not a bad move for that. The Bills going forward is having it sit a lot higher, so then they don't have to worry about the wind. But I hate to say it, you're still going to have to deal with inclement weather regardless if it's higher or not. Yeah, maybe the wind won't play as much of a factor, but the weather certainly still will.
Oh yeah, and I guess what's going to be...
As far as this game getting moved to Detroit, I don't have any problem with it. I mean, yeah, it takes the whole home field advantage away from the Bills, yes. And it also is 2 games in a row that they're playing in Detroit. 1 home game, 1 away game. But, simply, honestly, what difference does it make if it gets moved, honestly? Just be grateful that the Buffalo Bills have a place to even play.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of wish it was at home, and I think, the first thing that you got to think is, again, why did they move the game? And, I think personally, I think they should have tried to dig out, but also seeing that the airport had to shut down, seeing on the videos from Orchard Park, maybe it was, in a way, the best interest, because I get it, there's time to plow out, but it's a continuing event into Saturday. You're not going to be able to get someone in there to shovel the stadium out till probably Sunday morning.
Right.
And, in the past, the Bills have hired fans to go in, shovel the stadium out, and they've given them a free ticket to the game in exchange for you coming with a shovel. But I feel it would have pushed everything back. And again, the Bills couldn't even practice on Friday because of all this weather. So they're gonna enter Cleveland.
And if you remember, it was exactly the same thing that happened in 2014, and Buffalo. They were true Buffalo Bills fans will remember that 2014 game when they couldn't practice much and still went to Detroit and beat the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
So, could history repeat itself, and them having absolutely no, hardly any practice time under their belt, and go play in Detroit after almost 10 years, 8 years to the date, go to Detroit and beat up on the Browns? I mean, I could see it happening.
It's possible. I feel like the Browns are a much tougher opponent, though, than the Jets. But, I'll leave the thoughts for when we get to our picks. But,
right.
The Bills have, I believe, one of the bottom 5 ratings in terms of franchise value. Because of the market we're in.
Mm-hmm.
Buffalo's not a big sports market. So we look over at Las Vegas and we got to talk poverty franchise right now. That's right. The man who I believe owned a beat up minivan and drove it every single day to Oakland to work, Mark Davis, doesn't have the money to fire his own head coach now. Didn't have the money to upgrade his stadium and doesn't have the money to upgrade his head coach. So Josh McDaniels is rumored. Of course, it's been rumored for weeks. And more importantly, this past weekend, after he lost a game to a guy who's never coached in pros or college in his life, in Jeff Saturday. But Josh McDaniels is expected to get canned. He will not. And the reason... Well, Mark Davis doesn't have the money to fire Josh McDaniels and pay another coach. So, leave it to the Raiders.
Hey, there's a thing called cap salary and salary cap and stuff like that. You mean to tell me you can't use that to your good old advantage? Yeah, I mean, it would be a significant cap hit if you do fire Josh McDaniels.
It's not a hit to the cap. I think salaries for coaches, it doesn't apply to cap, but I just laugh when I see this because, you're in a big market.
That's money, but it's like separate from the player itself.
Mm-hmm. But you're in a big market. That's what I find funny about all this. Is you're in a big market, and now you're the only place where the house loses. You're the only thing in Vegas where the house loses.
Yeah, I know. I saw that too.
And you can't make a change. And it's probably because you fired John Gruden, who was on a lucrative 10-year deal to coach this team. And now you've
Right.
hired Josh McDaniels to a pretty big deal to coach this team. So, Raiders making Raider decisions, I guess. And that's why they're as bad as they are. But, of course, can't afford another coach's salary. Just even more reason that the Raiders should have hired Rich Biscaccia as their head coach in the first place. I bet Mark Davis wishes he had a time machine. Maybe he should sneak into Area 51 and try to find a time machine at this point. Just bring the whole 53-man roster. Do you think they're going to stop you?
They might try.
Man, flashbacks. But with that, let's go to our Week 11 picks. So we start off with the Bears, whose offense has been heating up in recent weeks, and the Falcons at 4-6. Atlanta favored by 3.
Bears have been looking really, really good. I mean, they should have won that game against the Lions, to be honest with you. So I'm thinking I'm gonna go with the Bears over the Falcons here.
I'm gonna go with the Bears too. I still don't think Justin Fields is a good quarterback, though. So I'm still gonna maintain that through until he proves me completely wrong. Browns Bills. Of course, again, game in Detroit, but the Bills favored by 8.
Yeah, I think this is gonna be a big bounce back game for the Bills.
I feel losing that practice is going to hurt them. I think it's going to cause them to get off to a little bit of a slow start, but I think they'll gain traction at the end. I think the Bills pull this one out, but I think it's going to be a close margin here. All right, Philadelphia, Indy. I think we all know who's going to win this one because Jeff Saturday's actually playing a legitimate NFL team.
I'm gonna have to say the Philadelphia Eagles, but then again, you can't discredit the Colts getting the upset here either. So
he's gonna get out coached. Sorry, I'm going the Eagles. But
I was going the Eagles too, but it wouldn't shock me if it was the other way around.
Jets Patriots, and the Patriots are favored by 3.5.
And also the Jets are undefeated on the road too, so I'm gonna have to go with the Jets. Sorry, they're Pat Nation, but the Jets have a cornerback named Sauce Gardner, and I think he's gonna make Mac Jones's day a living nightmare.
The legend of Bailey Zappi might come into this game at some point if it gets that bad, but I gotta go with the Jets here. I feel like the Patriots, I get they're the 7 seed right now, but I just don't think they're that team right now. So I gotta go with the Jets. They're gonna go to 7-3 and continue their magical run through the season. Rams Saints. Saints are favored by 3.
Yeah, Cooper Kupp's not going to be in this game, but I just don't think that's going to play too much of a factor against the Saints. If it was a different team, yeah, I would say yes. But I think that the Rams are going to find a way to win here.
Looking at the Saints, the problem is not the quarterback. The problem is clearly not the running back. They got a roster that should be winning games and very well should be leading the division. But the problem lies on the coaching, and I think Sean McVay, hands down, is a better coach than Dennis Allen. And I'm just going to go on coaching right here and say that the Rams take the win. Lions, Giants. This one could be a really good game. But the Giants are favored by 3.
Yeah, I hate to say it. I'm gonna have to go with the Giants here at home.
I'm going to go Giants, but the Lions are going to make this a Lions-type game. So, moving on to the Panthers and the Ravens. The Ravens are favored by 12.5. I think we kind of know what direction we're going, right?
About 12.5. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Baltimore here.
Yep. Not even going to tell you who I think I'm going for. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Commanders and Texans. Washington favored by 3, and another one.
I mean, as they should be the favorites. Taylor Heineke has this team believing right now, so I think they're going to keep the momentum on their side, and I think they're going to get another win.
What is
I
this?
think they're really going to, create some steam in the NFC East.
How many times is Taylor Heineke going to come in for an injured quarterback for Ron Rivera's Commanders team? How many times does it have to happen before they just realize, man, we got our quarterback right here? Okay, how many more times are we going to go through this? Okay, he should be starting over Carson Wentz right now. He's got this offense rolling. I think the Commanders win this game. In a battle for the...
And before we continue, it's kind of crazy that Taylor Heineke was a former XFL quarterback, too.
The XFL just had their draft, by the way, so pretty fun to see. I'm disappointed, though, the New York team isn't back.
Oh, well.
Oh, well. Battle for the basement. Raiders, Broncos. Broncos favored by 2.5.
Yeah, the Raiders don't have a very good road record either, so... I mean, this is going to be a disaster waiting to happen between these two teams. But I'm going to have to say, Broncos Nation, let's ride.
I think we're hopping back up on that horse and we're riding. But I don't know if you consider it a win if you're battling for the basement. So, but nonetheless, I'm picking the Broncos. This could be, I think this is the game of the week, actually. The Cowboys, the Vikings, Dallas favored by 1.5.
Well, I don't like that Dallas is the favorite here. I hate to say it. I'm gonna have to go with Minnesota.
Minnesota hasn't lost at home. I got to go Minnesota as well. Here. Here we go. Another game that could very well be the game of the week. Bengals and Steelers. Keep in mind TJ Watt is back right now, I believe, for the Steelers. Cincinnati is...
I don't think it's going to matter.
What?
I don't think it's going to matter.
Yeah, but Cincy favored by 4.
Bengals are better than the Steelers. So I'm going to have to go with Cincinnati on the road here.
Cincy chose the wrong week to get hot because they had the bye week last week. I kind of wish that this game was last week, but nonetheless, I still think it's going to be the Bengals, but it's going to be close. I think TJ Watt gives the Steelers a real chance to win, whether people see it or not. This is the game that got flexed in place of the Chiefs in place of the Steelers and the Bengals, I believe, which were the original Sunday night game. But Chiefs Chargers Sunday Night Football, Chiefs favored by 5.
So much as I would love to see the Chargers win at home here, I'm gonna have to go with the Chiefs.
Patrick Mahomes has never lost on the road in the division. He's been hot in November and December the last few years. I feel he's going to cool off in this game. But again, it's going to come down to stopping 2 guys for Patrick Mahomes. And that's going to be Travis Kelce, number 1. And number 2, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I think is going to have a big game because the Chargers' run defense is atrocious. But needless to say, I think it's going to be within 3 points, and I'm going to go with the Chiefs just narrowly. I think it's going to be another one of those games. But here we go, another neutral site. We're going to Mexico for Monday Night Football. 49ers Cardinals. San Fran favored by 8.
Yeah, it's kind of weird overseas primetime game like that. Underneath the lights. Well, I'm going to have to go with the 49ers here.
Another reason, and I'm going to keep beating this dead horse, but we need to stop playing regular season games out of the country, out of the home fields. Okay? We just need to cut it out. Plain and simple. Play these games in the preseason. I can't stress this one enough. To play these games in the preseason, whether they're in Mexico, Germany, Britain, Toronto, I don't give a shit where they are. But play these games in the preseason. But nonetheless, I'm going to go with San Fran in the Monday night game. Guess what? We don't have one Thursday night football game to predict. We don't just have one Thursday game to predict, we have 3, because it's Thanksgiving coming up, and a happy Thanksgiving to you all that are watching. But let's begin with the Bills and the Lions, the 12:30 game. The Bills favored by 10.
Hey, maybe being in Detroit like 2 games in a row might actually help out the Bills here. Who knows? But I'm gonna have to go with the Bills over the Lions, only because I just don't think that the Detroit Lions defense is going to be able to hold up with Buffalo's offense.
This will be a big momentum boost for the Bills. I'm going to go with the Bills. The Lions have the worst defense in the NFL, but they have a pretty decent offense. So I feel like they're going to keep the Bills' defense on their toes, but not enough to be in this game. So, Giants, Cowboys favored by 7.
Now, I could see the Cowboys beating the Giants, but sometimes the Cowboys do struggle on Thanksgiving. And it's safe to also say, even earlier about the Lions, Lions usually typically lose at home on Thanksgiving. Let's be honest.
Come on, it's not Thanksgiving without a Lions loss.
Exactly. Same thing with the Cowboys. Cowboys, don't get me wrong, they have won on Thanksgiving too, but the last few times they've kind of lost too. So, but I think they're going to get the win here. I think they're going to beat the Giants at home.
Yep. I'm going to go with the Cowboys. I think they are definitely a much stronger team than the Giants are. So, again, I got to go with them, but I think it's going to be close. Here we go. Thursday night football, U.S. Bank Stadium. Vikings, Patriots, Minnesota favored by 3.5.
Yeah, Minnesota's going to go 10-1.
Yep.
Then
I'd say they're going to go 10-1. The Patriots are going to go back below 500. So, with that, that's our picks for the week. And now we go on to Tinkle on this. And if you haven't seen France's Olympic logo or Olympic mascot, of course, it's supposed to represent one of those Liberty caps that they wore back in like the 1800s or something. But France will be using that as their mascot. And if you look real close, can I say this word without getting in trouble? We say a lot of stupid stuff on here without getting in trouble, but it looks like a clitoris, okay?
looks like a vagina.
Yeah, it looks like a part of a vagina for those who have not taken sex education. Sorry to the kids, you got a whole new lesson on sex. So, but France's mascot looks just like that. And for that, and come on, you could have done a baguette. You could have done maybe a snail, because I know snails are like a delicacy over there or something.
Right.
There were just so many options. Come on, why this? France, tinkle on this. Just tinkle on this to the whole country. So, with that, that's all we got for this week. Again, out of turn 4 will be back in January, but what's coming up on No Final Bell if you guys have an episode this week?
Oh, no, we will. I mean, we'll probably film it before we head on vacation, if anything. But just recapping Full Gear. It's going to be a great card of just great matches of in all heading on there. So, and also we're going to discuss Impact's Overdrive. So we are not going to do a pay-per-view special, but it's still going to be a regular episode, but only going to be talking about the two pay-per-views between Impact's Overdrive and AEW's Full Gear. So definitely look out for that one. I'm looking forward to it. It is, of course we're recording on a Friday here, so Saturday is Full Gear, and currently going on right now as we're recording is Impact's Overdrive. So,
yeah. So we look forward to that. Jason mentioned he's going on vacation for Thanksgiving. Care to tell these guys what you'll be seeing, or?
Yeah, actually, I mean, I could probably take some pictures and post it on the Tinkle Sports and Entertainment page. I'm going to be going to Boston to see the Celtics and Mavericks game, TD Garden. It's going to be surely an interesting thing. I'm super stoked to have to see Luka Doncic perform live. So,
yeah,
Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Luka Doncic. I think it's going to be a great matchup.
Yeah. It'll be fun to watch. Obviously, I can't wait to see those photos. Be sure to definitely post them. I know I posted a lot of live videos from Watkins Glen when I did the walk around and all that. So, hopefully we'll see a lot of those coming our way here on TSC. Unfortunately, as good as that is to be seeing that on social media, the bad news for all of you, you're stuck with Uncle Brian next weekend. So, because I'm not going anywhere. So, who knows? You might see someone else with me. You might just see me. You never know. If I'm you guys, I'd be praying that someone else is joining me. But hey,
Right.
With that, be sure to tune in to No Final Bell on Wednesday, 5 p.m. Eastern, YouTube, Facebook Watch. And I will see you back here Sunday. But in the meantime, we hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and we'll see you very soon. Till then, bye everyone.